Okay, so welcome to Managing Your Career Development During COVID-19. My name is Christy Cervantes, and I am the career coach for University College. Most of you have met with me. I do see a couple students here that I have met personally or have spoken to. One thing about University College is that, we have many students from different backgrounds with different areas of expertise. But one thing that we are noticing right now through the unusual times that we are facing, it's still being in the middle of this pandemic, is that, one thing that is, I would say that we all are experiencing and have in common is understanding and navigating and trying to manage your career development or your career during COVID-19. And so we decided that we wanted to go ahead and create a couple workshops, for University College, especially, in honor of National Career Development Month, which November is National Career Development Month. And so one of the topics that we wanted to focus on is what's happening right now currently, with, careers and, the job market and the economy during, this pandemic. So feel free to ask any questions at any time. I will be managing both the presentation as well as the chat box, but if you have any questions, feel free to, unmute yourself and ask a question if you need further clarification, or if you just want to go ahead and, chime in and share with us your experience. If you do choose to enter your question in the chat box, I would definitely, once the presentation is over, I will be able to go and manage the chat box, and then we could go over each questions, as they come in. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So in today's workshop, I want to go ahead and go over the agenda and, just discuss a couple of items of what we will be discussing. So the presentation agenda will include, information on where are we now when it comes to COVID and the effect on unemployment. We'll also talk about, job search myths, that you may have heard during COVID-19. We always hear, we hear a lot of stuff circulating, a lot of gossip, a lot of rumors, a lot of, what's going to happen, a lot of, what ifs, or a lot of, misinformation that's being, circulated out there. And so we've heard it from the very beginning, but we're still currently hearing certain job search myths. So we'll go ahead and discuss some of the common myths circulating. We will also discuss what we do know. We'll separate, misinformation from truth. And then we'll also discuss how to advance in your job search during COVID-19. There's certain techniques and tools that you can do, you can utilize, while we are experiencing and we are living in the middle of this pandemic. So we'll discuss any resources that we have that you may not be aware of, or that you may have heard, but you may want maybe some further information. We'll go over all of that information with you. And at the end, we'll also discuss, additional tips for, if you are a graduating senior, if you're about to graduate, or let's say you are in the middle of changing your career, whether it's, something that you've been wanting to do for a while, or maybe the pandemic led you to, change your career because maybe you were, laid off or let go, or, not receiving enough hours. And so maybe you're looking into, finding a new job. And so we'll be able to provide you with some additional tips for that. We'll also have room at the very end of the workshop for any questions that you may have. Okay, so COVID-19 effects. In the last few months, we have experienced the following. Job seekers, if you are currently seeking a job right now, you may have experienced feelings of being nervous, anxious, maybe, on edge, confused, uncertainty, everything that has happened from the beginning of this pandemic, which was back in, February. Of course, we may have heard something was happening, there was an epidemic happening in the beginning of the year. But as we got closer to February and March, we started realizing that, hey, this is going to become a pandemic and it will affect the United States, of course, as it's affected everywhere in the world right now. And so as a job seeker, when you start seeing uncertainty or you start seeing drastic changes, in the market, you do start experiencing, nerves, being nervous, anxiety, being confused, not knowing what's going to happen. How is this going to affect us in the long run? How long will we be experiencing these type of changes? And so it's natural for job seekers to have these type of feelings. The job market, these are the effects that COVID-19 has had on the job market. It's been uncertain, at the very beginning of the actual pandemic back in February, early March, we saw that high unemployment rate. We saw all of these, especially sectors in the hospitality, industry, hotels, restaurants, even traveling, the air industry. We saw a high unemployment rate. We experienced probably in the shortest amount of time a high unemployment rate within that month of March and April. Then it became a little bit stable once the economy, once certain states, and once Texas started opening. We saw that, okay, we started seeing that, hey, we're making a slow, we're making a slow change, and we're bouncing back, but not at the rate that we wanted. And now we're back at it being questionable because due to maybe a possible second or third wave, of COVID. Right now we do have cases going up, around the state as well as across the United States, even across the world. We do have possible second and third waves happening. So that could also affect the job market once again. So right now we are in that questionable phase of like, okay, what are we about to experience? And so those are characteristics that we have seen with the job market since March. It has been chaotic. It has been unstable. I can understand why, with the effects of the job market, why job seekers would feel the way they feel right now. Are we in the clear? We don't know yet. We received good news yesterday with one of the vaccines for the coronavirus, with it having really good effects on, the virus itself. So we will see what will happen. So these are just certain things that we want to discuss with you to show you where we are at right now. With employers. So once again, employers, in the beginning, there was so many hiring freezes happening. We even heard of individuals losing their jobs, being on the job, being in their place of employment for so many years, and then in one day being let go because of the effect that the virus had had. There also, in the beginning, we had hiring freezes, reevaluating certain positions, seeing what positions were going to stay, what positions may have to be furloughed, and then what positions, with just being straightforward, what positions may not return, pretty much being cut out. And then looking at what companies were essential. So there was a demand for companies that were essential. Now we are having a recovery, but it is a slow recovery. Anytime that you turn on the news, you hear about how the job market's happening, going on in the last couple of days, you may have heard updates of it, the job market. We may face, once again, some instability because of the cases rising again. And so we, at this point, don't know where we're going to be moving forward, but there are signs showing of recovery. It's just not happening at the rate that we would like for it to happen. With everything that's been going on since March, I'm sure that everybody has heard of job search myths. You may have heard of certain things that may not be true, misinformation being circulated out there. And so we want to go ahead and go over maybe the 4 common myths that you have heard. The first myth, at the very beginning, was that companies stopped hiring, that everybody was just shut down, especially during the shutdown, everything had just stopped. No companies were hiring, and that was it. So that is a myth. We want to go ahead and say that from the very beginning, that was not true all the way till now. There are companies that are still hiring. It may not be for every position, and it may be only open up to certain positions, especially positions that are remotely. You may see more positions opening to be able to work remotely until we receive an update of when it's, good to go back full time, or when things tend to maybe return to our new normal. The second myth was that networking would be difficult during COVID. That, you know, how are you able to network if you're not having the face-to-face connections? You know, how are we going to have career fairs? How would we be able to attend mixers where you can meet future employers or be able to network with other individuals who are interested in the same, you know, industries that you're interested in, and you form that connection, and maybe that could lead to a job or a career. So that's also a myth. And then the third myth was it would be difficult to conduct a job search virtually. You know, as time has gone by from March all the way to right now in November, you know, in the very beginning, we were faced with, you know, technological difficulties of, you know, how are we going to be able to network? How are we going to be able to continue the job search? The good news is that we have had these tools in our hand to be able to do that, you know, online, you know, using internet resources and tools. We have had that this whole time. It's just we were never put to the test to only rely on those resources. So yes, in the very beginning, there was probably a couple of hiccups with, you know, how would we help our students? How would employers help, you know, future employees and candidates on how to continue the job search, whether that was, you know, applying for a job, uploading your resume, interviewing, all that good stuff. But as time has gone by and we've been working remotely, and this is our new platform, Zoom or Teams, using all these different platforms, we have been able to improve and tweak, you know, maybe a couple of hiccups that we've had. So I want to definitely say that that is not true. It's not going to be difficult to conduct a job search virtually. And so we will definitely discuss different tools that we have further down in a couple further slides. Myth number 4, should you even try if we face another possible lockdown? We don't know where we stand right now. There has been nothing said, you know, from any of our, you know, governing agencies saying that we may face another lockdown. However, going back to what's currently going, that some cases are rising, you know, throughout the US, here in Texas as well. I want to say right now, presently, today, Tuesday, we don't see a lockdown happening again, but things could always shift. You know, that's just the thing about, you know, living in the middle of a pandemic, is that one day you receive one update and then the next, it could change within that same 24-hour period. I think that that's another myth that we should probably, you know, not take it too much, you know, spend too much time seeing if there's any truth to that. Like I said, we have been able to improve our technological tools and resources that we use to be able to continue, you know, assisting students and assisting, you know, future candidates on how to search for a job and how to go through the whole job search process. And that goes from searching to preparing your resume to, you know, preparing for an interview and accepting your job, and even negotiating and all of that, you know, especially with all of these platforms that we're currently using right now. So just to summarize this slide is that, you know, you can, you know, you can be at ease right now that, you know, some of these myths, you know, are just that. They're just rumors. You know, there's no truth to that, you know. There's more facts, you know, that prove these rumors untrue than it, you know, these rumors having some small percentage of truth to it. So I want to let you all know that, you know, you can be at ease, you know, with what you have been currently hearing. Now, we may have to readapt, readjust, you know, like, and that's with anything in life, you know, just always having to readjust based on what we're currently going through together right now, nationally, and even, you know, worldwide, with, you know, living with, you know, with a pandemic in the background. Any questions before I move on? So let's go ahead and move on. So we talked about, you know, where we are at now. We discussed what job seekers are facing, what the job market is currently going through, what it has gone through. We also talked about, you know, what employers are experiencing. We talked about rumors, you know, what's being said out there, what's, you know, what's being communicated out there through the grapevine. Now we will go ahead and talk about, you know, what we do know. So this is what we do know. So according to the 50th Annual Recruiting Trends Report, And this is some good information that we were able to actually attend a workshop last week with Dr. Phil Gardner, which is a very important figure when it comes to understanding what's going on right now with employers as well as career centers across different colleges and universities. So according to the latest 50th annual Recording Trends report, this is what we do know. We do know that some companies, not all companies, but some companies may not plan to hire until reevaluation. So there may be some companies that may have to sit down and take a look at their budgets, maybe look at their funds and their resources, maybe look at what needs they have, and reevaluate where they are at. And they probably have a freeze going on, or maybe a hold on positions that were probably, open for you to apply, or maybe that were, available a couple months ago or earlier this year. Maybe they're still on hold and they're needing to see where they are at for future purposes. So we know that some companies are at this point right now, that until they reevaluate and see what their needs are going forward, and depending on how long we are living through this, which may be the truth, the data has shown, experts are seeing that we may be living this way until maybe give or take 2022. We're about to, a couple months, we will be in 2021. And I know with not having a vaccine available, and then once we do have a vaccine available, it may take time to be able to distribute that vaccine to everyone. So we may be in this type of position for maybe the next year, maybe into fall 20. I'm sorry, not fall 22, but the year 2022. And so there may be some companies that for now they're on hold, and they probably won't reevaluate maybe until the new year or middle of next year. Another thing that we do know is that most positions right now that are available are part-time. So we do have more positions that are available part-time than full-time. And once again, that could be because of budget concerns and just seeing how everything plays out. And the data is showing that about 5% do not plan to hire for the next upcoming year, or in the near future, and 37% have yet to decide. So 37% is to be determined. So these are the facts and figures. This is the data that we are seeing right now. However, with that information being said, here are some sectors. There are sectors that look promising. So the sectors that look promising are the business professional and science services, everything but computer services. So computer services in the sense of like research, carrying engineering services, and that could be like your consulting firms, marketing or PR advertising. So those are the ones that are probably taking a hit right now and will take a hit in the future. But everything else like professional business and the scientific service, they do look promising, and the reason why is because those sectors can still continue remotely. So we have the technological tools and capabilities to continue those services online. So those look promising. Accommodations, everything is getting back to normal, as especially when states started opening. Hotels are slightly starting to see some improvement. It's not where it would, it's not where they would like to be, but things are looking promising for them. Education, that's looking promising, although we are still adapting to the new school year. We're still adapting. We have a lot of educators and teachers, still working out the kinks of working, working remotely as well as being teaching face to face. But it's still, all in all, the research is showing that it does look promising. Nonprofit also looks promising. Those who have been able to stay, and those profits, excuse me, let me rewind myself. The nonprofits, those who have been able to stay open. So the nonprofits who have been able to still stay open during the middle of, since March, have looked promising. However, giving is way down. So of course, any fundraising, anything like that, that is where it's taking a hit, because usually with fundraising events, those are usually done, in the sense of galas, even, sometimes you'll have some luncheons and different types of activities to raise funds. Now, of course, everything has transitioned to online. However, that has taken a hit. And then government has also been looking promising, but that of course may change once new budgets come in. So budgets will change as we continue living through this pandemic. So these are some sectors that look promising. With that being said, sectors that are on edge right now, this is what we do know. So the sectors that have faced, stressful times, would be retail, except e-universe. So except online shopping, that has not taken a hit. Amazon, anything curbside, that has been able to actually be successful. But these department stores where you go and shop face to face, we know that there's a lot of large retail stores that have taken a hit. Over the summer, we saw so many stores closing, like, JCPenney were shutting down some department stores. What was the other one? Pier 1 Imports. I think that's what the store was called, but that shut down. And so retail has taken a hit, with the exception of online shopping. Manufacturing, food and beverage, plus the chemicals, plastics that carry auto, aerospace, metals. So anything in manufacturing has been on edge, and for the simple fact that the rise of coronaviruses cases, for the simple fact that in some of these industries, you do have a lot of employees that work together, and so of course, with a lot of employees testing positive, we have seen that the manufacturing sector has been on edge. It's still performing to the best of its capability, but it has taken a couple of hits here and there. Health, anything in the healthcare is not quite back to normal, especially with the spikes with COVID, and then the skew of allocation of resources. So we know that there, it hasn't been back to a normal, because of everything that's been going on. And then transportation, there's been no change, but of course we do know that air travel has been weak because of everything that has been happening. But the trucking industry has been stronger because, if you cannot ship goods and supplies, through air, then you usually rely on, the trucking industry to be able to deliver supplies. The sectors that are struggling, we do realize that, finance, it doesn't align. We noticed that the finance industry didn't align with other studies. So it did show that it was taking a hit. Construction was down. It was highly disrupted. Once again, it is one of those industries that you do have, many individuals who will work together. So if there is a rise of COVID cases, and of course that takes a hit, in the construction industry. And then of course with supply chain issues as well. So those are the facts right there. Those are the different sectors that we noticed that, hey, these are the ones that look promising. These are the ones that are on edge, but this is why they may be experiencing some problems. And then these are some sectors that are struggling, that the data is showing that they are facing hard times right now. And so we want to go ahead and discuss, how to advance your job search during COVID. So with all of this information, let's go ahead and dive into different tools and that you have as a student here at UHD and as an individual who is looking for a job during a pandemic. And so let's go ahead and discuss one of the items, the first thing that you should know about applying to any job, whether that was, I want to say before the pandemic, and even during the pandemic and after the pandemic. So one tool and one strategy that I would give to you all is become familiar with applicant tracking systems or software, depending on, when you Google, they'll either use applicant tracking system or applicant tracking software. It's pretty much the same thing, or ATS for short. So become familiar with them and how they work. So what is an applicant tracking system? So an applicant tracking system is a human resource software that acts as a database for job applicants. And so just think of this, anytime that you go and apply to a job, whether it's a job in retail or a job, in the, you know, business professional sector, or just any job nowadays, you are always, you know, directed towards the company's website to go and apply. You no longer hear about paper applications. I mean, I know that they do exist out there and employers still use them, but you hardly, you know, you seldomly hear about paper applications nowadays. And that is because the majority of companies are all using applicant tracking systems. And so whenever you go and apply to a job, the website that they direct you to, where you fill out the application, that is what an applicant tracking system is. So an applicant tracking system is a human resource software. So it is actually a software that takes the the job seeker like yourself. It guides you to go and apply for the, you know, for the job or the position you're interested in. It will take you from you being the job seeker all the way to being the chosen candidate for the interview, all the way to being the finalist and accepting the position, and even getting everything worked out from, you know, your paycheck stubs to even anything that has your information when it comes to working for that company. So that is what an applicant tracking system is. However, as a job seeker, it is good to know what an applicant tracking system is and how that affects your chances to be able to bypass it, to make it to a recruiter or a hiring manager's hands, okay? And so that's where we come in as career coaches and start helping you and working with you and giving you advice on how to prepare your resume and your application to be successfully, you know, to be able to bypass the scanning software that applicant tracking systems have. Here are some popular applicant tracking systems, you know, or software that many companies work with. And so the number one, the most popular one that you may have never heard of, but you probably have used in, you know, once or twice, or how, you know, applying for a job, is Oracle Taleo. So Taleo is very popular. UHD uses Taleo. Actually, a lot of higher education institutions use Taleo. Another one is Greenhouse, and then you have JobVite. And so this is a picture of how Taleo works, or how Taleo actually looks. This is from the human resource side. And so you will see the different information of different applicants, the source where they found the job, and then the date that they applied, and then if they attached a resume or a cover letter. And you'll also see where they are ranked, and we'll get into that information about what this means. And so basically, the ranking is where how your experience, the information you have on your resume, and what you put on the application, how that matches to the actual job description for the position you're applying to. So this is where career coaches come in and help you with your resume. So we try to make sure that your resume is consistent with the position that you are applying to, for the simple fact that we know that the applicant tracking systems have scannable or scanning software that looks for certain things on your resume and your application and bumps you either up or down, or in certain cases out, you know, for the position you're applying for. And this is how it looks from behind the scenes of someone who's working. Maybe it's the recruiter or the person, the hiring manager that's in charge of the committee, and they're wanting to see where, you know, Jason fits into that position to be able to call him to set up an interview. So this is one way on how applicant tracking systems work. So applicant tracking systems, so most may not be friendly towards fancy resume templates. So here's some, you know, tools and some tips. So when it comes to applicant tracking systems, the majority of them are not, I want to say not resume template friendly. So if you are using, you know, one of these fancy resume templates that you find even on Microsoft Word, you know, sometimes when you're creating a resume, Microsoft Word will give you the choice to choose, you know, they have resume templates that you can use. However, sometimes these templates are not ATS friendly. And that could be because maybe the color that they're using, you know, some of them do have color ink, or maybe the the way the borders or the margins or even the tables or how it's set up is not it's not scannable friendly. And so that's one thing that we always, that is the first thing as a career coach that we tell you on your resume. When we take a look at your resume, we look at it and we say, if we see a resume template, that's the first thing we tell you to change. We say, okay, we have to not use a resume template. What we do suggest is for you to create your own resume and just use a Microsoft Word document. And we have given you an example on how to create this. And we also have a resume format guide on our website. And as you can see, it is just a simple resume format. Just everything is easy to read, and it's all created by you on Microsoft Word document. And what we do suggest is that you don't necessarily have to get rid of those beautiful resume templates. You know, you may have found a really good template and you love how it looks and it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye, you know, and we tell you, you don't necessarily have to get rid of that version of the resume. You can use that version of the resume when you go face to face to an interview and you want to hand out to the hiring manager or supervisor or committee a copy of your resume. That's going to, you know, that will help them, and it will also look, you know, fancy. But when it comes to the ATSs, they are not too fond of templates. They actually reject them. And so are there some templates that may bypass the ATS? Of course there are, but the majority of the time we always say, for your, you know, assurance, just make sure that you stick to a Word document and you just simple, minimal is better. And this is a case where, you know, minimalism wins. And so this is an example where you could do, you can just have, you know, format your resume, you know, have the resume heading with your contact information. I'm not going to get too into the details of how to create a resume. That's a different workshop. And like I mentioned, we could always have a coaching session where we will help you, you know, format your resume. But, you know, just remember to have the key information like your summary, which would be a personalized message of who you are. It's like your elevator pitch. Skills, showing technical skills, what you do know. You know, we were to sit you down on a computer, what could you create for us? Education, relevant projects. You know, if you don't have a lot of full-time professional experience, but if you do, then you can include, you know, you can omit the relevant projects and include the relevant experience, and then volunteering. And so this is pretty much how you would format your resume. ATSs also scan for keyword descriptions on the resume. So on your resume, you want to make sure that you create, of course, create a general resume that is prepared. It's your blueprint. It's pretty much ready to go for whenever you get ready to apply for certain positions. However, when you apply for certain positions, you want to tailor that blueprint and tailor it for the job that you are applying to. So yes, you will have a blueprint or a general resume, but you will always tweak it for each job that you apply for. And you want to make sure that you try your best to match the job description to your resume. So try to match it within using the same keywords in the job description, in your experience, as well as in your skills, in your summary. And that's pretty much how you start preparing your resume for the applicant tracking system. And applicant tracking systems, they love, and pay attention how I boldface this, they love numbers, percentages, and dollar signs. So this is probably the only time that you can actually include numbers, percentages, and dollar signs. You know, I know in your English courses, they say, you know, you have to spell out the whole number 3, THREE. On your resume, do not spell them out. Use the actual number 3 or percentages or dollars. They love numbers because they're able to pick up that. They were designed to be able to pick up quantifiable information. So here are a couple of tips that we wanted to share with you. And you can actually, you know, Google applicant tracking systems and find out more information on like what to expect and how they work and how to, you know, tailor your resume for it to be ATS friendly. You can do that as well, what I would recommend, how the presentation slide recommends, is schedule an appointment, with me to create or update your resume to be ATS friendly. There's also tools that help you, like JobScan. So JobScan is a website that actually helps you to make sure that your resume is ATS friendly. So it assists you to make sure that you bypass it, bypass the ATS. And the way it does that is that it's set up where you can actually copy the job description and paste it on one side of the website JobScan. And then on the other side, you can actually copy your resume and paste it, and then it will give you a match rate. So if you have a match rate for JobScan of 80 or better, then more than likely your resume will make it through the applicant tracking system and into a recruiter's or hiring manager's hands for a possible interview. And that's one website that we love to use, JobScan. They do have a free account, and I think with a free account, you're allowed 5 scans. Like if you're actually, let's say you're not a student, you can go on JobScan, create an account, and you're allowed like 5 free scans on a monthly basis. But the Maine Career Center has provided JobScan for free for UHD current students, and that would be via Jobs for Gators. And we will go over Jobs for Gators in a couple further slides, which is your student account that you have here with the Maine Career Center. So we actually have purchased, a version of JobScan that is available for our students to use for free, and you have unlimited resume scans. And so that's actually the website that we career coaches rely heavily on. And so what we will do is we'll look at your resume, we'll make sure that, we're reviewing your resume, we will make sure that it's formatted, no templates or anything. And then we'll also look at, okay, what type of job are you trying to apply to? And then what we like to do is we use JobScan to see, okay, well, this is your match rate of more than likely you're heading in the right direction, the higher, the better. Like I said, JobScan has an 80%. Experts in the industry, I actually attended a workshop a couple of weeks ago where it was a leading expert with different ATSs. And he mentioned that as long as you even have a 50% match rate, more than likely you will make it past the ATS. However, JobScan does require an 80% for their website. And I have a question. A comment. Okay. We're glad that you attended as well, Shirley. So I just want to make sure we didn't have a question. But yes, so I definitely recommend job search, for your job search, the tool JobScan. And like I said, the Maine Career Center actually has provided JobScan for free, and I will be able to show you that, in a couple of minutes, and where it's located at in your Jobs for Gators account.
Excuse me, I do have a question.
Yes, Sasha.
So this will be my last semester in school. So my question is like, I hope I can find a job before I graduate. But the question is like, once we graduate, if I am still looking for a job, will I still have access to the JobScan or the UHD Career Center, or once you graduate, you no longer have access to that?
So that's a good question. So once you graduate as an alumni to UHD, you still have access to your career centers on campus. So you will still have access to the Maine Career Center. You will still have access to Jobs for Gators. Currently, right now, the featured JobScan is only available for current students. But I think since you're a senior right now, you still have from right now all the way until your status is changed to alumni. So, what I would recommend is try to use it as much as you can right now. And then at this point, that's the only, pretty much that's probably the only student population at this point that we are able to provide JobScan for free. But do remember that you can also create an account, going straight to the JobScan website. And I think it's jobscan.co. When you actually go to their actual website, you can create a free account and get those 5 monthly scans for free. So yes, you will still have access to UHD for free as an alumni, UHD Career Services for free. You will still have access to Jobs for Gators. The job scan tool may change once you are changed over to an alumni, but you always have that backup free account with the actual website job scan, which is pretty much the same.
Okay. So then even as an alumni, let's say for instance, if I need to schedule a meeting with you, I can still have that access to that, right?
Yes, yeah, you can
Okay.
still have access to me.
Okay. And then
Yes,
uh,
and we could
huh?
and we could still continue, the job search. The research is showing, this was, pre-COVID though. The research is showing that, it usually takes you 4 to 6 months, depending on when you start, whether, you start during your senior year or before, 4 to 6 months for you to land a job. So of course, if we are starting the career search now, it may take 4 to 6 months. This was before COVID. Now with COVID, it may be a little bit longer for the simple fact of what we talked about in the previous slides of where companies are at right now, where we're at with the pandemic. But my advice is don't give up. Things, will return to a new normal eventually. It's just trying to figure out the when, and we know what we're waiting on. We're waiting on, of course, the development of a reliable vaccine, a successful vaccine, and then after that, looking at where we stand, with the economy and pretty much just cleaning up everything that happened because of COVID.
Oh, okay. And then also, so in the volunteering section, if I volunteer for my church, can I put that as a volunteering experience in the resume?
Yes, you can.
Okay, because one time, somebody from Workforce Solutions told me like to not put like my volunteering experience with the church because I can be discriminated for my religion, but I didn't. I never remove it because uh, I feel proud for the service that I give to my local church,
Yeah.
and I don't feel
No.
nobody should be discriminating me for my religion.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, and that's actually against the law. You should not be discriminated because of your religious beliefs. So no, I could see why they would, suggest that. But an employer cannot discriminate you because of that. What the way we see it is, we would put that information down of what you're doing, but we would also tailor that information to pretty much create it like a job description. Like if you were in charge of, maybe you assisted with, kids activities, you created lesson plans or you created activities, we would be able to tweak that information to make it look like, yes, I am volunteering, but this is the type of experience that I am gaining and what I'm doing, as a volunteer. So it's really on the wording and what you put, under that volunteering section.
Okay. And then for certain activities, if I generated money for the church, then put those numbers in the resume, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, especially if you're creating, like events, that is huge. That's actually giving you experience as a coordinator, as an event coordinator. So it's really how you word it, how we were able to say, you may look at it and say, oh, it was just a small event, but really we could say, hey, you were an event coordinator as a volunteer. This is what you did. So it's really how you word the information and the experience on your resume.
Okay. And so, sorry, last question.
No worries.
Sorry, you mentioned something about the trucking industry, that the trucking industry was doing good. I am concerned because my husband works for he's a dispatcher. He's not a trucker, but he's a dispatcher for a trucking company.
Okay.
So, and he's the only one that currently works. I am just focused on school, and on volunteering with the church, and anyways, but sometimes I stress, what if he loses his job and all this and that. So I don't know. I mean,
So
so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. Should I worry? Should I not?
I would say from what we saw on this study, and do remember that there's so many studies going out there, so much research data being collected right now. And this was just a glimpse of that industry. And so they were saying that, transportation overall, it was looking good. They did see that the only type of industry that was taking a hit was, of course, the air industry, for the simple fact of what happened with people not traveling anymore, and slowly now they're starting to travel, but not as much as they would like to. But they did notice that the trucking industry was doing good, because if you couldn't ship anything out, air wise, the next thing that you rely on is trucking, especially, all of our truck drivers. Now, being someone that's somewhat familiar with what happens in the trucking industry, of course, you also have to worry about like the truckers, and their rights, and being unions. And so I know sometimes there may be some concerns with the truckers where they may, strike or anything like that. But on this study, it looked like everything was okay. Now, like I said, with COVID and everything, that's even with every industry, even education, we're also not safe from that. But I would say for now, just what we can do is take it one day at a time, pretty much.
Okay. And I'm sorry, last for sure, last is going back to the alumni. So once you're an alumni, you have how long did you say that you have access to the UHD Career Center? I forgot, and I need to write it down.
Oh, as an alumni, you always have access to us for free.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, I thought it was just like for like 1 year or you just a limited time.
No, you actually have access to us for free.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, take advantage as a service. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. So let's go ahead and continue with the actual the rest of the slides, and then we could continue with the Q&A. So another tool that we want to talk about, or another tip strategy on how to advance your job search during COVID, is actually, now more than ever, I know pre-COVID, we would, as career coaches, as a career center, we strongly always said, hey, make sure that you're building your personal brand or marketing yourself online, and that's pretty much what that means, marketing yourself online to the industries, to the individuals that you're interested in trying to receive an opportunity with. But of course, now more than ever, definitely start working on your personal brand. So start building your professional online presence. If you have not done so, create, the best website right now for networking and job seeking is LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn, kudos. I would definitely, go on LinkedIn, look at your profile. Is it getting views? Is it getting hits? If it's not, let's go ahead and set up an appointment and see what we can do. See, maybe you're missing information, or maybe what you're communicating is, confusing, to future employers. So you want to start building your professional online. You want to continue building if you already have a LinkedIn profile. So some of the websites that we recommend, of course, is LinkedIn, for professionals. Twitter is also a good website just to be in the know of companies and what they're going through, or if they have any positions going on. Sometimes you may have some companies tweet like, hey, job opening, but direct you back to their website, to the ATS for you to apply, or direct you back to LinkedIn. But any job lead is always good, good information, because it directs you to where you need to be, and that's where we start the job search. Instagram and Facebook, that just depends. Sometimes you will find some job postings. I'm a little weary of like Facebook, because sometimes it could be job scanners. And so I definitely, those are not my two favorite, but it keeps you with I would say the keeping in with the know of the company, like where they're at. Are they looking for anybody? They'll post updates, or pictures. But LinkedIn would probably be your best bet, next to going to the company's website. Check to see what you are communicating online to future employers. I strongly recommend, if you don't have a LinkedIn, it is a great social media platform for professionals. It will help, it will direct all professional traffic, people looking you up, it will direct them to LinkedIn if you create a profile versus, let's say they Google, Christy Cervantes. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Christy Cervantes out there, but instead of it going straight to like my Facebook or my Instagram, I have a LinkedIn profile, so I'm sure it would probably take them first to LinkedIn and then maybe start working towards the other social media platforms. Speaking about other social media platforms, you want to make all your other accounts, if you haven't done so, or if you have other accounts, you want to make them private and have a decent profile picture. Before COVID, employers were Googling you. They were already Googling you. As soon as, they accepted your resume and wanted to call you in for an interview, they probably Googled you, okay? After or during COVID, they're Googling you more now than ever. They're trying to find out who you are, because keep in mind that interpersonal connection is gone. Everything now is online. So they're trying to find, who you are through other outlets. And so the Maine Career Center can always help you with your LinkedIn profile. So you're not alone. We have handouts. We have a guide, to help you to create a professional profile. Networking during COVID. So networking, once again, there is a way on how you can network virtually or online. One suggestion that I make is going back to, LinkedIn, connect with companies and organizations that you're interested in. More than likely, if you have a LinkedIn, follow the companies that you're interested in. They post so much information. They'll post about job openings. They'll post about what they're looking for. And it keeps you in the know, just find out what's going on. And just by you connecting with Microsoft, maybe one day they will post that they have an opening for, a IT specialist. And so that's just having that connection can open doors. Connect with professional organizations. Not only connect with companies, but also connect with these professional organizations. There's so many professional organizations for all industries. So connect with them online as well. They also let you know what's going on with the industry. They will be more than likely to tell you what's actually happening within that industry because of COVID, because they'll post all their findings and their research and their data. And of course, connect with your professors, connect with classmates. Sometimes your classmates will let you know about a job opening. And then other student service professionals like, the Career Center, student services like academic advising. So that way you can know what's going on. And maybe, employers also talk to us. They let us know that they're hiring, and we will forward that information through our social media platforms. So make sure that you just stay connected with all of us. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of LinkedIn. I would also say stay connected with your professors. Send them an email from time to time again. Just let them know, hey, I'm doing well. How are you? Any tips that you have for this is where I'm at currently in life. And professors like to give that information out. They love to be able to advise their students, especially within the professional industries that they are familiar with, that they have experience and knowledge in. Interviewing during COVID. So we prepared your ATS, we prepared your resume for the ATS, it was scanned, it bypassed the ATS successfully. You got the call from the hiring manager, and now you're set up for your first interview. So interviewing during COVID. So like I said, everything now that we used to do face-to-face, you probably have to work a little bit harder and more creative to be able to form that connection, because now we don't have that face-to-face connection. Now we're not able to, sit and get to know each other face-to-face, and maybe, you find out that you and the hiring manager has something in common and you're able to make that connection. Now it's more of, having to connect virtually. So when it comes to virtual interviewing, it will continue. Okay, it's going to continue for the next couple of months, next year or two. Okay, and the career fairs. You may have experience if you did attend our virtual career fair earlier this semester. Everything will continue to be virtual, so there will be more virtual career fairs, and it is I definitely recommend as a student to prepare for this. I have over the past couple of months heard I'm not comfortable, I don't like this environment. We are there with you. Some of us are social butterflies, we like to make that connection in person. Some of us just don't feel comfortable, we're introverts. This is really out of our comfort zone, but we have to find a way on how to be able to do this so that way we can be successful in our job search. So here are a couple of tips that we will recommend with the interviewing. Like I said, we also have, if we were able to have more time, we can create a workshop on virtual interviewing. But here are just some important tips on how to be successful in the virtual interview. So make sure to find a designated area with a professional background in your home. Make sure the background is professional, not, I would say no crazy colors or any crazy posters in the background. Set up your camera and your computer and your camera. Treat all virtual interviews like you would face-to-face. So smile a lot, have that warm demeanor, welcoming demeanor. Like I said, you have to treat it like a face-to-face, but I know it's sometimes it will be kind of odd or strange for you to be like, I'm not face-to-face, but you just, you have to fake it to make it. You just have to act like it is a face-to-face. Look directly in the camera and not at yourself on the monitor. So pretty much make eye contact with the camera, not looking at yourself in the monitor like I'm doing right now, because you see that I'm facing sideways. Keep water close by in case you get dry mouth due to nerves. I'll go ahead and make an exception to take a drink. Or just in case, like right now, I suffer from seasonal allergies. So right now in the fall is when I get my allergies really bad. And part of those allergies are that little tickle that you have in your throat that makes you start coughing and hacking. So yes, you want to make sure that you have water next to you because you don't want to experience anything like that in an interview. Make sure to get the interview's contact information. So right when you set up that appointment or when they call you to set up the appointment, make sure that you get their contact information in case there's an internet disruption or disconnection. It happens. It happened to me when I first started working from home. You would not believe the problems I was experiencing with AT&T. I don't know how many times during a workshop or an appointment, my internet was always dropped. So you want to make sure that you get their contact information in case something like that happens. Even if it's not a virtual interview, let's say it's a phone interview, you want to make sure you get their contact information just so that way you can be prepared. My motto, it's better to be over prepared than under prepared. So those are just some tips to help you. And then once again, like I said, the UHD Main Career Center is here for you. We are operating virtually. Right now we're in the office as well, but all of our appointments are virtually because of where we're at with COVID. But that does not stop us from being able to service you 100% and be able to help you with everything. Excuse me. So whenever you log into the Main Career Center, you will have, this is our main website. This is our Jobs for Gators account. You're able to log in by clicking this link right here. It will take you to the login website. You will log in using the same username and password that you use for Blackboard. So if you haven't been able to log in, make sure that you try to go and log in and use the same username that you would for your Blackboard and password for Blackboard, and then you will be able to log in. You have a couple of lots of good resources here on this side. I will go ahead and visit the website at the end of this presentation to give you more information. So additional tips for seniors and career changers. So now that we're wrapping everything up, here's some additional tips that we were able to find out from leading experts, people who are doing the research right now during COVID. employers and, the National Association of College and Employers, which is NACE. That's our professional organization. And these were some additional tips that they wanted to share with us, for us to share with you all. So be prepared now more than ever for virtual recruiting or interviewing and virtual career fairs. Now more than ever, it's not going to go away anytime soon. This will be the new blend. So it's going to be here for a while until everything returns back to normal. So for a while, you may have to get used to being able to work, remotely or interview remotely, recruit, go attend virtual career fairs, meet with recruiters remotely. And this is how it's going to be for a while. And when they say blend, maybe they will allow, a socially distanced interview, but maybe they will say, hey, the next round of interviews is going to be with the committee. We feel more comfortable that happening virtually. So just be prepared. This is going to be the new blend for a while. For students, communicate. So yes, let's start working on our communication skills, especially now, because it's so easy for any misinformation to be communicated and anything to happen, especially within the online environment. Brush up on your technological skills. You can brush up on your Microsoft Office or any database software, any other type of software. You can do this by using LinkedIn Learning. That's another neat tool that LinkedIn has, is that they have LinkedIn Learning, which are classes available to you for free, and other free resources for learning like Coursera. Even YouTube provides you some classes or some videos on how to learn something. And then last, make a connection to the main career center. So make a connection with us. The data is showing that employers will rely heavily on college career centers for the next couple of years. And that's because of what's happening right now. So definitely keep in touch with us. Even as you graduate, you didn't hear that it is free as an alumni here at UHD to still continue services with us. And so this concludes the presentation part. Please make sure to take the survey that we have. You will click on the CDC overview. While that's happening, let me escape from this. I'll leave that here. Let me minimize this. Sorry. And then let me open up our website and then show you where we are at. So I'm gonna do screen to screen and just give you some information. And so you can actually find our website at the main career, at the UHD main website. Enlarge it for that, just for this purpose. We are actually under quick links, Career Center. The other Career Center is for the Maryland Davies College of Business. So in your case, you would click Career Center as a University College student. Now let me minimize it again. So you're going to find all that information. Like I said, Jobs for Gators, you'll be able to log in here. You have a lot of resources here on my left-hand side. So you have the career assessment. This is just in case, let's say, for example, you're still wondering like, hey, how would my personality, my likes, my interests, how would they match up to different occupations? You could take the Focus 2 career for free. It is free, and the access code is UHD Gators. I believe you may have a question on that on the survey, so just giving you that answer already. And then you also have how to explore majors and careers. For university college students, we do have a handout on the different majors of what you can do. So if you're an interdisciplinary studies student, you click on that, you will be able to receive a handout on possible career pathways and industries for a student who has an interdisciplinary studies degree. So that was interdisciplinary studies. And then if you are an applied administration major, you will also have a handout on possible career pathways or industries. All of that is on our website. And then the resume guide is also on our website. It's under resume and CV and cover letters. And so you want to make sure you brush up on your cover letter writing purpose as well. And then that gives you all of the information that you need. And then it has that format that we have here that we showed you. And that's pretty much, you know, all of the good stuff that we have on our actual website. Now, let me go ahead and log in to Jobs for Gators. Now, I'm going to log in as an administrator, but I'm going to look up a fake student profile. And so as a student, oops. So once you log in as a student into your Jobs for Gators account, this is how it's going to look. Your timeline may look a little bit different, okay? But this is where you can actually set up your public profile. So when you first log into Jobs for Gators, you have to set up your profile. You have to let us know, are you interested in full-time, part-time positions, what kind of industries, all that good stuff. However, this is where once you set up your profile, you will upload your resume for us to review it. As soon as you upload your resume, you will then have access to JobScan, which would be, you know, under here. Right now, it's not set up for this student because it's a temp student, it's a fake student profile, and they haven't uploaded a resume, but you will have access to JobScan. Maybe as soon as you log into your account, you will probably be able to see the JobScan icon or I want to say like advertising billboard, and then you'll see that. But you'll also have access to all of these other resources that we have on Jobs for Gators. We also have, you know, a career pathway. So it's just like a checklist, depending if you're a freshman, a sophomore, junior, senior, depending on where you're at, it gives you tools and tips on what you should do to get career ready. It will have mock interviews. So we also have mock interviews as well. We also, as career coaches, are able to conduct mock interviews as well. And then you can also set up an appointment with myself, your career coach. And so, yeah, you have all of that good information on our website. So now I'm going to stop the share. Let's see. I have one question. So I did get a good question about volunteering experience during COVID. I know right now it's a little bit hard for volunteering, especially because of how, you know, COVID is affecting the screening and what you can do and socially distancing. I would say my advice would be, if you may want to ask these companies if they have any type of remote or online experience, online volunteering experience opportunities. So maybe, you know, let's say, for example, it's a nonprofit organization and they need help with, you know, doing a call campaign. That would be something that is volunteering, depending on what kind of information you're calling, or how much information you can receive. Maybe you could do something like that remotely. But that would just all depend on the nonprofit and their capabilities of providing information like that. Maybe even information on researching. So yeah, I do know that certain industries have struggled with the volunteering aspect of it, but I'm sure that just like all of us, we're able to get creative, and I'm sure that they have probably came up with something. Unfortunately, I do see that, you know, several orientations have been canceled. I don't know how long this will last, but hopefully they may have some opportunities remotely. It just would depend on the company or the organization. That's a good question, though. I've received lots of wonderful questions. Good questions. Anybody else have a question? Any comments?
I do it. That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, I have two questions. One is if we are applying for grad school, uh, do we need to submit a resume? Like, does that really help to getting into grad school? Because I was seeing somewhere down the application that they give you that option, but what do you think?
Yes. So if you're applying for a graduate program or professional program, depending on what program, what type of program it is, or within the department of, that institution or university, they may require either a resume or a curriculum vitae. So that's like a CV. And so a CV is like a resume, but it actually focuses more on your academic experience. So it just depends on the program. We have noticed that if they're business programs, like MBA, they want you to have a resume because they're more focused on professional experience. But if it's like an English program or a psychology program, they're more focused on the academic and the discipline and research. So they may want you to submit a CV, a curriculum vitae.
Okay.
And it is part of the admission packet. So it's part of the application.
Okay.
But we could also help you with that as well. We also help you with CVs.
Oh, okay, okay, perfect, perfect. And then also, out of curiosity, so what was the name of the software that UHB Jobs for Gator uses? Like, what's the name of that whole software package where we log in and we upload our resume and
Oh, it's Jobs for Gators. Oh, Jobs for Gators, and then it's Job Scan.
it's okay, okay, job scan. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we conclude this workshop?
I was gonna ask you something. It's kind of out of this specific thing, but
Sure.
on I had signed up for the one for Monday. Do you know anything? Is it that we're supposed to be dressed professionally? Can I be ready for any practice or anything like that? Or is it just kind of like this one? Very,
For a workshop on Monday,
yeah,
is it the second workshop we're having for University
yeah,
College?
yeah, which
Oh no,
is the connecting to your major.
oh no, it's just gonna be a workshop. So it's
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
more informational.
Oh,
Good,
okay, great.
good tips and strategies. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you
Yeah,
so much. Thank you so
you're
much. This was
welcome.
a lot of good information. Like I said, I'm so glad that I attended.
Thank you. And we love to hear that feedback. I would also say, Google all the information that we went over, like, and you start becoming familiar with like applicant tracking systems and networking and what's going on right now. I always tell students, if you want to keep up with the job market and what's happening right now with the economy, the Wall Street Journal is a good newspaper for you to keep up with what's happening. And as a student, it's free. So if you're a student and you're accessing our websites here at UHD or like our computer services, it is free and it gives you a good idea of what could happen in the future, with the job market and COVID and all of that. So those are some of the tools that we use.
Yeah, because my experience is on healthcare,
Mhm.
and I have not been working since February. And now that
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of work with my resume, I'm just so afraid because I had applied to several places, but I had not heard anything. And I know it's because of my resume.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I find out
Submit it.
about the job
Yeah.
scan.
Make sure that you submit it on Jobs for Gators too, and I'll be able to review it and tell you what you can tweak and what you can change.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all my questions that I have. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Guess we'll see you Monday if
Okay.
you're there.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you. So if we don't have any questions anymore, this actually concludes the career development during COVID workshop. Thank you so much for attending. You all have a good day.
Thank you, Miss Cervantes. I do